Hey, what is going on, everyone? This is Mohammed, your personal PMP coach from Certified with Ease, coming back to you guys with your daily dose of questions. We're going to solve them together. We're going to train our PMP mindset at the same time because the mindset is the most important thing. All right. I'm talking with a little bit of a list. I have an injury in my mouth. So just bear with me when it comes to that. Okay. Just a reminder, we have a small training in the description. Click on it, benefit from it. It is something so powerful, and it's the framework of the exam right over here. It's the framework of the exam. It includes everything you need in order to pass this exam on your first attempt. Make sure you take advantage, right? Make sure you take advantage. You'll also have an opportunity to book an appointment with us to check out our signature course over here, which we're also going to use when it comes to answering some questions. Okay? All right. So without further ado, let us begin. Question number 11. So remember, we're going to train our mindset. We're going to jump into the answers first. If we can't solve it by just looking at the answers, we are then going to solve it by reading the question and understanding the problem statement. So A, manage expectations and agree on the requirements that the contractor will deliver under the supervision of the project manager. Nothing wrong with that. No principles are being contradicted. Let us move on. Let's see if there's a better answer. Begin to roll out the application of micromanaging the contractor. Okay. This is not what we want to do. We want to be a servant leader, right? A servant leader is someone, even if you're working with a contractor, a servant leader is someone who inspires, someone who empowers. Micromanaging is the opposite of that. C, set expectations and agree on the requirements that the contractor will deliver with periodic progress reports. Okay. Setting expectations, right? You're taking a step back, technically. You're discussing. You are setting up expectations and agreeing on the requirements. You're aligning everyone on the right page. Nothing wrong with that. D, deploy the contractor staff under the supervision of the project manager. Okay. We got to kind of read this question now because there are some answers that remain after using our mindset. Okay, so a project team consisting of 4 team members will be rolling out a company-wide application to both staff and contractors in a country. To deliver within the strict timelines, a local company skilled in application deployment and change management will need to be contracted. What should the project manager do to empower the local company? When you're empowering someone, you're giving them autonomy. You're saying, you know what, contractor, I trust you. You do what you got to do to get us to where we need to be. Okay? So, that being said, B is obviously gone. A, manage expectations and agree on the requirement of the contract delivered under supervision of the project manager. Okay. But setting expectations and agreeing on the requirements the contract will deliver with periodic progress reports is much better. Why? Why is it much better? A and C are kind of the same. We need to set expectations, right? We need to take that step back. We need to discuss, this is what we're looking for. But we also have this notion of periodic progress reports. Imagine hiring someone and not hearing from them until the end of the year. No, we want to have periodic progress reports, right? This is what we want to do. And you'll see this is a common theme when it comes to agile as well. Continuous feedback. We want that, right? Even though we don't know it's an agile project, that's not the main point. The main point is we want to collect continuous feedback. So I'm gonna go with C. It's a good answer. A and C are both good candidates, but C has this periodic progress reports. D doesn't solve the core issue. That's why we're not picking that. Okay, so let's see what the answer is. C, so most people chose C. Awesome. Okay. All right. Question number 12. Okay, so let's look at the answers. A, review the scope and project objectives. I like that. Pretty simple. Taking that step back. Principle number 1. If you're confused about what it means to take a step back, this is our principle over here. We take a step back. Okay, principle number 1. Enforce the penalty clause on the supplier. Now, even though this is a realistic solution, We don't want to do that right away. Why? Because it creates friction. It creates friction. Okay, never create friction in the team. The supplier, even though he or she is not the immediate team member, they're still a part of your broader project team. Take action to reduce the cost overrun. Okay. All right. Work with the client on the scope completion. All right. So remember the fundamental rule that I always tell you guys about. When you see principle number 1 as a solution and everything else as an action that can follow the solution, principle number 1 is the response. Okay. So I'm not going to even read the question. I'm going to look at the answer and let's see what it is. A is the answer. Okay. That's how you apply the PMP mindset. Now remember, on your real exam, you want to actually read the questions. Even on your mock exams, right now, what we're just doing, we're just applying the PMP mindset so you guys get familiar with it. Okay, awesome. All right. So again, answers: A, facilitate training on version control and project artifacts. Okay, maybe the team doesn't understand how to do these specific things, so we need to facilitate this training. B, maintain separate document control via regions to avoid discrepancies. All right, nothing wrong with that. Maintain a central repository of artifacts with a version control system. Okay. Develop a document management software for version control. Okay, so this is more technical, which we'll have to read the question, but this is a little bit more technical. Okay, so in a geographically distributed project team, there we go. Key information. We're remote. We're located everywhere. The project team members continue to email status reports and update schedules after their weekly meeting discussions. But the team is having difficulty tracking the changes and progress made. What should the project manager do? Okay. Everyone's dispersed geographically. They're still communicating. However, tracking is becoming a problem. That's a problem statement. Tracking is becoming a problem for a geographically distributed team. What should the project manager do? Facilitate training on version control and project artifacts, maintain separate document control via regions to avoid discrepancies. What's wrong with that? What if people, let's say, for example, you're in India, you have a team in India, needs to communicate with a team in the United States, or they have different documentation, but someone in India needs to access the document that has been created by the US team. That's gonna be an issue, right? We don't want that. That's going to create more difficulty in tracking. It doesn't solve the core problem. So B is gone. C, maintain a central repository of artifacts with a version control system. Develop a document management software for version control. I can't pronounce it because my tongue is my tongue is injured right now. I'm trying to pronounce the word. Anyways, if we maintain a central repository, that fixes the problem. Why? Because everyone can access the same repository. Your team could be in India, your team could be in the States, in Canada, in Italy, in China. It doesn't matter. Everyone could access the same repository. That is why that is going to be the best answer. Okay. The version control system part, not important, right? Not important. It's extra information. But anytime your team is dispersed, you want to have a central system in place. Okay, best answer is going to be C. Perfect. All right, awesome. So 8, work with the project manager to develop a new approach that will bring benefits to the project. Okay. All right. Suggest using an agile approach since the customer and team collaboration is critical for project success. All right. Not bad, because think about it. Agile involves close collaboration between the customer and the project team through the product owner. Could be a solution. Establish a project management methodology that requires the customer to provide daily updates to the team. No matter what, providing daily updates to the team, if the customer is forced to do that, it's probably not going to stick because the customer is really busy, right? That is why we have the product owner, and that is why we speak to the customer after every sprint, right? So I'm not liking that solution that much. Provide a project management template for the project manager to follow as a guide. Okay. we got to read this question. Let's try to frame the problem and let's try to understand what is going on. A PM has been assigned to a project where collaboration and business is a critical key factor. The PM is not sure about which approach to use. A senior manager has been assigned to help the project manager. What advice should the senior project manager provide? All right. Key part of the question or situation. Collaboration, right? Collaboration with who? Project has been assigned to a project manager. With collaboration with the business is a critical key factor, right? Key factor, collaboration. We know that in predictive, there's not much collaboration between, let's say, the business clients and the team, right? This is a little bit of a poorly worded question. They should have mentioned who the collaboration is important amongst, right? But agile, there's a lot of collaboration. So work with the project to develop a new approach. We don't need a new approach, right? We're not reinventing the wheel. The wheel has been invented. Suggest using an agile approach as customer and team collaboration is critical for project success, right? Establish a project management methodology that requires customer to provide no. We said that no already. And provide a template. I'm going to go with B. B is going to be the best answer in this case, okay? So the forum over here says that there's a split between B and A. Work with the project manager to develop a new approach. No, listen, guys. The wheel has been invented already. You have 3 main project approaches. One of them is just a combination of 2. Predictive, agile, and hybrid. All right? Forget about all the incremental and iterative. Those are 3. They cover every single project that you can possibly imagine. I'm going to go with B. You guys let me know in the comments what you think. All right, number 15. So again, answers first to train our PMP mindset. And then if we can't solve it, we'll move on to the question. All right. Confirm to the stakeholder that the risk register has been completed and validated by all stakeholders. All right. Perform a risk analysis directly with the stakeholder who raised the risk and update the risk register. Okay, that could be done. Communicate the risk to the steering committee and request a mitigation plan from senior management. Okay. They don't mention escalate, but we don't want to speak to senior management. They got other stuff to deal with. This is principle number 8. Even though they might not mention escalate, you don't want to do that. You don't want to communicate the risk to senior management. No, I'm going to eliminate C. D, add the risk to the risk register and re-evaluate the register with help from the project team. Ooh, I like this, guys. There's a lot going on here. So when dealing with the risk, obviously you want to add it to the risk register. Fine, great. Re-evaluate, take that step back and seek help from the project team. So you're taking the step back, principle number 1, okay, over here. And you're also consulting your team, who are your experts, okay? Your team members are your experts. I always forget which number this principle is at. Yeah, let me just do Control F. Team. Your team members are your experts. Oh, no, this is another section. Let me see. There. Giving you guys a little bit of a view of the course, okay? And if you're interested, please book an appointment, check it out. If it's for you, then sign up, all right? Over here. Excellent. I like D a lot. That's what you're supposed to do. I'm going to go with that. Okay, D, answer, right? Awesome. Let us move on. Okay, so we have a sprint burn down chart. You're probably wondering, do I have to know this, Mohammed? If you do get a question, it'll be one question. It'll be a burn down chart or even burn up. But most of my students have said burn down. It's going to be just one question. So don't break your head over it. But it's actually not that difficult to add. I'm looking at this chart right now, and I already know the answer to it, right? We're not going to go into a deep analysis of it because I want you to just develop the mindset. That's the purpose of this video. Focus on situation-based questions. But you see the planned and you see the actual. The actual is actually following the trajectory of what is planned. So you don't have to really make any changes. It's starting to divert a little bit, but that's fine. So I would say continue with the sprint, right? I would say do this one. Pretty simple, right? Now this could get all funky. They can start like diverting, which will be a different story. But just for the sake of this, D, pretty easy answer. Awesome. 17. So again, let's read the answers first. A, notified all vendors about the invoicing and non-payment deadlines. Okay. Review the total committed costs against the cost invoice at project closing. All right. Involve the finance team and discuss the issue with the vendor. Ooh, I like that. Principle number 1, discussing, involving the team, the appropriate people. Captured and reviewed all of the project work related to costs regularly. Okay, we got to read this question. It's about costs. Let's read it. A PM is closing a project and preparing to hand it over to the operations team. During handover, a delayed invoice was submitted with a higher than planned cost against the project work. As a consequence, project handover was delayed and the project's reported completion costs were increased. What should the project manager have done? Okay, this is important. So we are going back in the past now. Every time you see the answer or the question, what should the project manager have done? We're not looking for the solution up front. Rather, we are trying to mitigate it all together. That'll tell you, if you just think about it, how do I avoid this problem altogether? It'll tell you what you need to do. So notify all vendors about the invoicing and non-payment deadlines? No, that's not going to solve it. It might help in the situation, but it's not going to solve anything. Review the total committed costs against the cost invoice at project closing. No, that's at project closing. That's at the end. We're trying to go back to the past. Involve the finance team and discuss the issue with the vendor. Okay, you could have done that. But I would say captured and reviewed all of the project work and related costs regularly. That's the key. Regularly. If you regularly do this, you'll know that, okay, you know what? We're approaching our limit. This concept of providing and giving regular feedback, very important. Let's look at the solution right now. All right. D. Awesome. Okay. This is awesome. We're doing really well, guys, and I hope you guys are answering the questions. You're answering the questions correctly as well. Okay. So let's look at this one over here. Oh, this is a calculation question. Okay, you know what? We're gonna skip this question. You guys could do it. I don't want to pull up my whiteboard and and have to do things. But again, we're trying to work on our PMP mindset. So let's move on. Okay. I'm going to have a dedicated section for more calculation-based questions, but on your exam, guys, don't worry. There are 2 calculation questions mainly. You have EVA, Earned Value Analysis, and PERT, and SPI, CPI could come up as well, and that's about it. Okay. But as well, we'll do an extra question at the end. All right. So, A, ask the project sponsor and executive stakeholders to encourage the team to maintain their performance. Whose job is that, right? Is that the sponsor's job? Is that the executive stakeholder's job? Kind of sounds like escalating, right? The concept of escalating is involving someone that does not need to be involved. Note that down. I don't like A. B, provide the team with virtual collaboration software and training on the software to minimize disruption. Okay. I'm looking for principle number 1, to be honest. Transition your team from an agile approach to predictive. Okay. Here's a good thing. When I take off the glasses, it's serious, right? Any solution that says, let's switch project approaches, do not select it. Switching project approaches is either very, very difficult or impossible. Too much cost, too much time wasted, too much of a learning curve, too much stuff going on. C is not the answer. I'm going to put that as a principle moving forward. Evaluate project performance and step in if performance decreases to an acceptable level. Okay. I like the word evaluate, but let's look at the question. A PM is working with a co-located agile project team that has worked together long enough to be in the performing phase of team development. An unforeseen event has caused the team to be dispersed and they are now unable to co-locate. What should the project manager do to keep the team performance as effectively as possible? Okay. So it's not saying that, you know what, their performance has dropped or has dropped significantly. We're not going to do A, right? We can do B and we can do D. Let's look at the problem now. An unforeseen event has caused the team to be dispersed. They're unable to co-locate. What should the PM do to keep the team performing as effectively as possible? So they were there in person. Now they're dispersed. What is going to solve the core problem? We're not concerned about their performance. There's nothing in the question that mentions that. That's why I'm going to go with B, right? B is going to be the good answer. So a lot of people chose D. I'm going to say B. That's my thing. Why? Because there's no performance issue to even begin with. The problem statement is everyone's been dispersed. All right. Okay, so this is a very bad example of a PMP mock question. You're not gonna get something like this. We'll just solve it. Might as well. Project manager reviewing the requirements of a large program. Which requirements should the project team prioritize to avoid getting fines? Complying with new regulations. All right, simple as that. Right. I just seen regulations and simple as that. Okay. Bad example of a question. You're gonna get a situation. You're gonna have to read the situation to understand. But let's just answer questions, right? The best way to prepare for this exam is to answer questions. Okay, so A, review the project management plan with stakeholders. Review the business benefits realization plan with stakeholders. Okay, so this is more of a tools type question. Let's read the question. We're going to be forced to do that. You're not going to get much questions like this on the exam. Still good to know. During the lessons learned workshop, one stakeholder mentioned that the project was unsuccessful and did not deliver the expected business value. All right, guys, business value. We're looking for the document that mentions or that helps us realize the business value. I'm going to go with business benefits realization plan. All right, pretty simple. Nice. I love simple questions, right? It makes my life so much easier. It makes your life so much easier as well. All right. Question 22, let's skip. Not a good question as well. I'm trying to look for a situation just to help you guys out as much as possible. Okay, A, remove the dependency to eliminate the need for knowledge sharing. There's always a need for knowledge sharing. Always. When you are progressing through a project, you're going to learn more about the project. You need to be able to share that with other stakeholders. Redistribute the team members so knowledge is available in both teams. Okay, let's continue. Merge both teams into one team so knowledge is commonly available. Request the respective teams to plan. Okay, D is the answer. Everything else is kind of strange. Look at this. Why are we going to redistribute team members for knowledge sharing? Just share the knowledge, right? Merge both teams into one team so knowledge is commonly available. Why are we going to merge both teams? Just have the knowledge in one repository. Request the respective teams to plan for knowledge sharing sessions. Okay, so that's going to be my answer, and D is the answer. Don't worry, guys. The questions are going to get much harder, but remember, we're training our PMP mindset. We're trying to get in the routine of recognizing patterns, and we're trying to work on our timing as well when it comes to answering these questions. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, subscribe, and of course, check out the small training. I promise you it's going to be beneficial. It will tell you exactly what you need to focus on. And book a call with us. Book a call with us to check out our program. If it's a good fit for you, we will sign you right up. Take care and have a fantastic rest of the day.